мікрофон згортаю. Hello. Can somebody listen? Okay. Hi. So, good. And can you see me? Good, good. Okay, so today my plan is to show another 3 games against Magnus Carlsen. Good. But first of all, I want to tell thank you for everybody who joined today to my simul on Lichess platform, or also who followed this simul. It was very important for me, and it very pleasant for me that many people supported such idea. And now, okay, we will see how I'm playing against Magnus. So in Chorus 2008, I was white, and game wasn't very long. So after bishop b5, a6, I took on c6. Hi. More frequently, I'm playing bishop a4 here, but in this game, bishop c6, I decide. Okay, I played, of course, other games with bishop takes c6, not only with white, but also with black. So b takes c6. Another capture with b pawn, according to theory, it's not so good. But, okay, for example, there is interesting trap. For example, d4, e takes d4. Of course, castle is a good move, and after d6, white can play d4 with better position. But, d4, e takes d4, queen takes d4, queen f6. I just want to show you one trap. So e4, queen g6, castle, bishop b7. This move. Okay, white is better here objectively, but it looks like it's possible to win immediately after e6 and after f takes e6, knight e5, because queen is attacked and there is a threat to give mate from d7, but black has queen takes g2 trick, yes, and c5. Okay, it's a little bit cheap, of course, but maybe not everybody knows. So b takes c6 objectively dubious. And we can compare that in line bishop a4, d6, sometimes white is playing bishop takes c6 and d4 playing the same, but losing the time, bishop a4 and bishop takes c6. And now black has choice between 3 moves. It's possible now. E takes d4 is possible, knight f6 is possible, or f6 is possible as well. So, choice of Jose Raul Capablanca was f6 in this position, and Firouzja against me also played f6. So, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, certainly correct move, and now white has choice. So, castle, main move. Another possible move is knight c3. Attack pawn immediately to take, of course, it's not good idea because queen d4 is coming. So knight c3 is possible, and after f6, d4, e takes d4. Now it's possible to take with knight, possible to take with queen as well. Okay, so many games was played. Also, d4 immediately is possible, but d4 is totally harmless for black. After e takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop d7, and then castle. Black has no problem at all. So castle, and now black has white choice, and Magnus played bishop d6. So many moves was played. So bishop g4 h3, h5 is another very popular line here. Also is possible to play f6. After d4, black can take on d4 or play bishop g4 as well. Other possibilities, queen d6 is possible, knight e7 is possible. For example, after knight e7, this line is interesting. Queen h5, g6, queen g5, bishop g7, knight d3, f5, e5, now c5 or queen g4 immediately. I played against Ilyes because now white is pawn up, but okay, black has some compensation because knight on d3 and white has some problem with development of his bishop c1. Also, bishop e7 is option for black, so black has choice, but Magnus played bishop d6. d4 is the most natural. E takes d4, queen takes d4, f6. Another critical position where white has a big choice, and I played b3. According to theory, this is not the main move, and I think this conclusion of theory is correct. So bishop e3, it's main move according to my knowledge. Hello. So bishop e3, for example, knight g7, knight bd2, white wants to play knight c4 and attack bishop, so bishop e6, and now white cannot play knight c4 immediately because after bishop takes h2, queen takes d4 and bishop takes c4, black is pawn up, so usually after bishop e6, white is playing rook a d1 or rook f d1 or queen c3, so many games was played. I lost with okay, bishop c5 is not the best move, of course. So if you play this, c5 is the most popular move, and now white has choice between knight b3 or knight e2, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, this endgame. But also possible to play knight e7. This is interesting line with idea knight g6, and only then try to develop bishop somewhere and castle. I played knight e7 line against French grandmaster Romain Edouard. So c5 or knight e7. c5 is more popular. Okay, so bishop d6. f6. So bishop e3, it's the most popular line. Knight bd2 is also possible. Knight bd2 I played against Vidit. So knight bd2. Vidit play bishop e6. Again, idea is that after knight c4, black has bishop takes h2. If b3, knight e7 is possible, and after knight c4, black has bishop b4. And according to theory, it's okay for black. So I played queen c3 against Vidit, and now he played knight e7. So queen c3 is idea to prepare knight c4. So knight e7 is possible, but not totally necessary. For example, looks interesting to play queen e7 or queen d7 to prepare a long castle. No, I wasn't invited to Norway Chess 2022. I have never played in Norway Chess, so in Norway I just played the Chess Olympiad in 2014. Not very successfully, but I played. And other tournaments, no, I have never played in Norway. So after queen c3, black has we did play knight e7, natural move, especially for blitz. It was blitz. Mm, but okay, Queen E7, for example, is a reasonable idea. And if Knight C4 now, Black has Bishop B4. If Knight D4, okay, castle. So it's playable position and quite typical for this variation. Probably Queen D7, probably less precise because Knight C4 and then Bishop E3. So Queen E7, now Knight C4, Bishop B4 is. It's not terrible for white. Queen d3 is possible, only move, because other move just Anand and Topalov will play. When will start tournament? In April or in May? Well, who knows? So after Bishop b4 is obviously that white should play Queen d3. It's only move because after Queen b3, b5 or Queen d4, Rook d8, white just losing the piece. So Queen d3, but okay, Black has no problem at all here. So Rook d8, for example. Sorry, Rook d8, Queen e2 only move because after Knight d4, c5 is coming. So Queen e2, now Queen f7, then Knight e7. Black is totally okay. So the idea of Queen e7 to prevent Knight c4. Knight d4 is possible, but okay, after castle, I don't think that white has something serious here. So Vidit played Knight e7. I played Knight c4. He allowed me to play Knight c4. He just took and played Queen d7. Now, okay, now white is slightly better because May 30 till June 11. Okay, now I played Bishop e3. Rook d1, unfortunately, not possible. Again, because the bishop takes h2 check. So Bishop e3, natural move. Knight g6, Knight d4. Okay, not necessary. Rook a d1 was possible as well, but okay, nothing wrong with Knight d4. Knight e5, Queen e2, castle, Knight f5, Rook e8. So typical position, slightly better for white. Rook a d1, b3, bishop f8. But it's very interesting how I lost this position. So I played this, Knight e7, from Odessa, hello. Knight e3, f5, Queen c4. Yes, so this position, okay, I don't know if white has good winning chances, but yes, but it looks like totally safe position for white. So I played h4, and I played rook f3, h5, king h3, b5. And now I played knight b2. So very clever move. So my idea just to play knight d3, and he played king d7. And my first thought here was to play knight d3 without thinking, but suddenly I realized that I have another idea. I can win the pawn, and I played rook d3. Of course, knight d3 was correct, and white still is slightly better. So I played rook d3, king e6, rook c3. This was my idea. So pawn c6 is attacked. Of course, bishop d6 wasn't possible because e5. So rook c3, bishop d6, rook takes c6. So in blitz, I calculate just till this moment, but unfortunately, after knight e5, so if I take king takes e5, it's nothing good for me. I took. Now I have even two pawns up, but after rook f1, I am just losing. So I outplayed myself. Instead to play normal move knight d3, I played this, and So rook h1 is, and then knight g4 is coming. So here if knight d3, for example, rook h1, bishop g3. Now knight g4, I have e5. This is it's even good for me. At least I'm not losing. But here after bishop h2, knight takes d3. It's much stronger, and I should take on d6, and this endgame looks like hopeless for me after b4, and then rook a1 is coming. Yes. So this was my game against Vidit. It was later, but so just want to attract attention that bishop e3 main move, knight bd2 is possible as well, but I played b3 against Magnus, and okay, idea to prepare bishop a3 and exchange bishops, but of course white wasting a lot of time. It's too slow. Also, there is a cheap trap, so after bishop g4, e5 is strong. After bishop takes e5, queen takes g4, queen takes g7. It's very bad for black. And also after bishop takes f3, e takes d6, rook e1 is coming. So bishop g4, it's mistake, but of course it's in such levels. It's very difficult to expect bishop g4 idea. So Magnus played knight e7. Very natural move. Also, again, black has choice. So many move actually is possible. For example, bishop e6, nothing wrong. Natural move. And if white play bishop a3, knight h6 is possible, and then knight f7, castle. So totally playable position for black. Also is possible to consider queen e7, of course, with idea to prepare one castle somewhere, and also idea to prevent bishop e3. But knight e7, very natural. So bishop a3 and bishop g4. And now choice for me. Okay, rook f1 is not idea. I need to study to learn how to defeat. Okay, if you have some question, I can try to explain. Okay, thanks for subscription. And after bishop g4, okay, it was a psychological problem for me. So legendary William Shakespeare wrote, to be or not to be. So in this position, my problem was to play or not to play. Not to play means e5 now doesn't work because bishop takes a3, and after queen takes g4, bishop b2, and after queen g7, rook g8. Yes, so e5, of course, I have seen that doesn't work. So if I want to play this position, I mean, yes, to swim or not to swim. So it's also possible. So if I would be in fighting mood, so the most reasonable idea to play queen e3 and then take on d6 to play knight c3 and just play this position. Okay, I'm not claiming that white has advantage, but it's playable position. But okay, I took on d6, so he took on f3. Of course, black can just take on d6 with pawn or with queen. It's also possible, especially if black has in mood to play, but Magnus was happy with draw, so he took on f3. Because queen takes d6, totally normal endgame for black. So he took on f3, so bishop c5 only reasonable move. takes, and rook d8. So bishop takes e4. It's dangerous because rook e1, and if bishop goes somewhere, bishop c5 is coming. And also this idea doesn't work because after knight f5 white has bishop c3 and no mate. If rook d1, rook e1. But rook d8, well calculated. Oh, okay, it's not so difficult for Magnus. So bishop c5, I have no choice. Bishop takes f6. Why not? I need to remember why not bishop takes f6. Okay, maybe just bishop takes e4 is possible. And I have problem with my c2 pawn, so I cannot take. But now it's not so clear. No, bishop e7, king takes e7, if rook e1, king f6. I cannot take the bishop. This is not problem for black at all, because king f6 and my pawn is hanging. But now I'm thinking that knight c3 is interesting. And probably, because now if bishop takes c2, I can take on g7, rook g8, and bishop somewhere else. So why I didn't take on f6? Okay, maybe black has very strong bishop e2, bishop takes e7, king takes e7 and rook e1. But maybe he can just take, and after g takes f6, for example, check and play, or maybe even without check. Okay, maybe with check. So knight g6. And now looks like black has excellent compensation because knight e5 or knight h4 is threat. If knight c3, rook d2 is coming. So probably this was my problem. And it looks like black has at least enough compensation for the pawn. So bishop c5, practical decision. Bishop takes e4. Now it's possible. Rook e1, rook d7 only, but enough move. Knight c3. Another only move, bishop d5. So bishop takes c2, greedy move. It's very bad for black because rook a c1, and after bishop g6, rook d1, black is losing piece. Obviously the game, but bishop d5, correct move. Rook a d1, king d8, king f7 was possible as well, I think, but king d8 played Magnus, and we agreed draw in this position. So, next game. Next game was, I was black in Morelia Linares, so, and my choice was neither variation. Bishop e3. Of course, white has a very wide choice here, but bishop e3 it's a little bit logical because after a6, square b6 became more weaker. So bishop e3, it's a hint that white somehow want to realize square b6, and in some variation it's this possible, but not always. Okay, of course it's matter of taste. I just want to ask if everybody can hear me well, and is it everything good with translation? Because if I don't see, yes, okay, so sometimes I'm not sure if something is not wrong with connection. So bishop e3, I played e5. Another possible moves here, knight g4 or e6, of course. But I played e5, knight f3. Also possible. The most popular line, however, is knight b3 with idea queen d2, f3, long castle. Okay. There are a lot of theory, so knight f3 was choice of Magnus. Bishop e7. I played another good option here, according to theory, is queen c7 to prevent bishop c4. Bishop e7, bishop c4, castle, castle, bishop e6. Another possible line is knight c6 here. It's also possible. It's flexible move because after knight c6, black has choice to play b5 or to play bishop e6. It depends what white will play. For example, if rook e1, the best for black is b5. Because bishop e6 now it's wrong. After knight d5, white is clearly better. Knight takes e4 is impossible because bishop b6. So this is example where white utilize weakness of b6 square. And if not take on e4, white has positional advantage. For example, this structure is very pleasant for white. c4 is coming. Or maybe h3, and now maybe knight g4 is possible, so maybe, okay, maybe h3 to prevent knight g4, and after knight bd7, bishop f1 to prepare c4 disadvantage. Okay, so after rook e1, b5 is the best, and if bishop b3, knight a5 is possible. If bishop f1, if bishop f1, rook b8. It's important move because now after knight d5, black can take on e4. And for example, if bishop b6, rook takes b6, knight takes b6, knight takes f2, it's excellent for black. So rook b8, if bishop g5, for example, knight g4 is possible to avoid idea bishop takes f6 and knight d5. So knight c6 is possible, but I played bishop e6. Magnus played bishop b3. Another theoretical line here is bishop takes e6, f takes e6, knight a4, which I played against Topalov. But according to modern theory, after knight g4, it's the best move. Queen d3, knight takes e3, queen takes e3, b5, knight b6. Rook a7, knight d5, rook b7. Okay, white has no special achievement. Black should play precisely, but objectively it's position about equal. So Magnus played bishop b3, I played knight a5, standard move. Knight c6 and knight a5. Rook fd1, knight takes b3. C takes b3. More popular move here is A takes b3. And now, if knight d7, knight d5, white is slightly better. Because after bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, with knight f6, white can just go back. And after knight takes e4, knight takes e5 is possible. So knight d7, it's not precise moves. Main theoretical line here is queen c7, bishop g5, knight h5. I also want to illustrate what is white plans. For example, if rook ac8 looks like normal to prevent bishop f6 at knight d5, so white can just take. And after bishop takes f6 to play knight e1 and next move knight d5. I strongly recommend to see very nice victory by Judith Polgar against Vichy Anand in this variation. Polgar white, Anand black. Who didn't see this game, I strongly recommend do it. So knight h5 is theoretical move, knight takes e5. Of course, white cannot utilize this idea after exchange of bishops, because after knight takes e5, knight f4, and then d takes e5, black just wins the piece. So knight takes e5, it's theoretical move, bishop takes g5, queen takes h5, bishop f6, knight f3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, queen takes c3, knight d4. Okay, although this position is slightly better for white, for black it's not a big problem to keep this position. So almost all of games which I have seen from this position was ended with draw. But Magnus took with c takes b3. And now I played knight d7. Now it's different story. So queen c7 hardly can be recommended because rook ac1 and knight d5 is coming. So, and knight takes e5, it's a direct threat. Okay, I don't know, maybe black has some alternatives here. Maybe queen a5 is possible, for example. Black should prevent against knight takes e5, of course. Okay, maybe knight g4 is also possible to consider. So, or maybe this. I don't know. But again, white can try to plan to play bishop g5 and then take on f6 and then knight d5, for example. So I played knight d7 and now probably I expected knight d5. And I don't remember what was my plan. Maybe I planned to take. Again, knight f6, no big reason, because after rook d1, my pawn e5 is attacked. So probably better to play something like rook c8, or maybe even to play rook c8 here without taking on d5 immediately. So, but anyway, knight d5 was move which I expected. Magnus played knight d2. Different plans, so it looks like he wants to play knight c4 somewhere. Or maybe he wants to provoke me to play b5, for example. After b5, he can consider a4, and if b4, knight d5, and if take, takes, so then knight c4 is coming. So white has quite a good prospects in queen's flank. Also, probably black has enough contraplay after bishop g5. So, frankly speaking, I'm not sure that white is better here, because after exchange of bishops, black will have a square for his knight c5. So it's complicated position. But I didn't play b5. Also f5, f5, now f5. You mean? Instead queen c7, now f5, you mean? F5 is possible, but probably I didn't see special. Instead of bishop g5. F5. Yes, it's interesting too. F5, if knight c4, f4, and then a5. So probably this, and then knight c5 is coming. But f5, f3 is possible. Now after bishop g5, white can consider bishop f2 like opportunities. So I am not sure that f5 is improvement, but okay, it's also possible, I agree. Maybe even here was possible to play f5. Why not? because black wants to play f4 if knight c4, but I don't remember what I have considered during the game. Probably I just didn't see special advantages after f3. And white has square. Also f4 is possible, but I'm not sure if 4 is good or bad, but let's move to consider. But with rook f on d1, so if imagine rook if transfer rook from a1 to f1, f4 looks logical, but with such rooks it looks a little bit strange and probably tactically not totally correct. Black can take, for example, after this. It's not possible to take on e4 immediately because bishop g4 is coming. Okay, it's possible to play h3, and black cannot protect his pawn if d5 knight takes e4 is coming. So it's complicated position. Both has his trumps. Okay, after f4 probably black can consider takes. And queen takes e4, knight c5. Okay, complicated game. So f5 was also a reasonable alternative. I agree, but I didn't play this. So I played queen c7. This looks dangerous somehow, but well calculated. So rook fc8, and now after knight d5, queen d8. So just in time. Queen takes c1. Not good. Why? Because white can simply take and knight f1. I have no time to take the knight because my rook is hanging. So queen d8 is correct. And now he took on c8, so maybe knight c4 was possible. But after knight c4, I suppose that I have this idea, b5, and after knight takes d6, takes, and knight f6. Can be problem for white. And, he is losing some material. If knight takes f7, for example, queen c7 or queen c8, bishop is hanging too. So knight takes d6 doesn't work, and only move knight a3. It's not good. So he took on c8, rook takes c8, took on e7. Maybe now knight c4. It's more logical. Because now if bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, now b5 doesn't work because white can take on d6 and my rook is attacking. But probably after knight c4, my plan was simply play bishop f8 and then to prepare something like h6 and knight f6 in future. Okay, it's complicated position. b5 in some moment can be considered as well. So probably Magnus took on e7. He didn't want to allow me play bishop f8 after knight c4. Also, of course, nothing bad for white. For example, this is possible. Maybe even b4 is possible to play. Idea to have knight a5 after b5, but it's not so clear. For example, even this is possible to consider now take, and white cannot take with rook because after rook takes d5, knight f6 is coming, and if rook goes somewhere, I can take on e4. If bishop g5, I have this trick. Rook c1 check, and then take, knight takes b4, and line pawn up. So at least it's not bad for black. So b5 is possible trick. Not okay, maybe a4 is logical somehow. Idea after b5 to have take and knight a3 to attack my pawn b5, and after knight f6 immediately bishop g5. But okay, maybe h6. This idea to prepare knight f6, so complicated. But knight f6 it's not a threat because bishop b6. So it was a reasonable idea to play knight c4. I don't know why Magnus didn't play this. Again, idea if takes knight f6, rook d1. If knight takes e4 is not possible because of bishop b6, or also even bishop b6 doesn't work for some reason. White has idea knight takes e5. But in this position, of course, bishop b6 wins the piece. So knight c4 was very natural, but Magnus took on e7 and played knight c4. And now I took on c4. Another possible move was rook c6. Maybe it not change something special because after rook c6 white can play anyway queen d2 and continue attack pawn. So I took on c4, b takes c4 and play knight c5. And looks like white is slightly better here. Magnus played b3. And now, of course, I cannot take on e4 because queen g4. So I played rook c6, queen c2. I don't know why queen c2. More natural looks to play f3 and then queen d2, something like this. So white has some pressure. It's very similar to game Karpov against Parma. I recommend to look who didn't see this game, how Anatoly Karpov realized weakness of a d6 pawn. In some moment he just play f4 and then exchange pawns and utilize it d line for penetrate his rook. So this game Karpov white, Parma black. So queen c2, a little bit strange move because c line is not optimal for white queen. So for me f3 looks like much more natural and then queen d2. Magnus played this, h6, g3, queen c7, king g2, knight d7. In the moment b5 already can be considered like threats. Also, objectively, white's still slightly better. So queen d3, knight f6, a4. a4 wasn't necessary, probably more accurate was just play f3. Maybe Magnus afraid b5, c takes b5, rook c3, but hard to believe that it works because after rook c3, b6 is coming. So f3 was logical, he played a4, I came back to d7, and now after knight c5, sometimes b3 pawn can be weakness for white. So now I have some counterplay. King f8. King f8 is useful if in some moment I will play knight c5, bishop takes c5, d takes c5. So for some rook endgames, it's better to have king near to e8 or e7. So bishop c1, knight c5, queen f3, queen b6. So suddenly my serious counterplay started and white has real trouble with his b3 pawn. Bishop a3 took. Bishop takes d6. And now position is drawish. Takes d4. King g8. I should prevent draw after move repetition. Rook takes b7 is possible, but of course white has no winning chances. Knight c5 is possible, or even knight d2 is possible with idea rook e2 check. So white has no reason to play for winning this position. Black as well. So But okay, so now what is king g6, for example? Looks a little bit risky for black, but who knows, maybe possible. Because g4, I can play knight c5. But okay, maybe g4 is good move. If knight c5, rook c7, of course, looks like white has strong compensation. f5 check and then bishop takes g7. Now knight e6 is not possible because of f5. So knight d3, f5, and then bishop g7. So I decide that king g6 is too risky and agreed to draw. And last game for today will be game. I was white in Linares, knight f6, Magnus played castle, knight takes e4, d4, and instead of boring Berlin defense, knight d6 I mean, Magnus played a6. So this is invitation to play open Spanish after bishop a4, b5, bishop b3, d5, d takes e5, bishop e6, which Magnus played quite often. But why he didn't play a6, bishop a4, this move order? It's a good question, but probably because in previous game I took on c6, so Magnus decided to change move order to avoid exchange variation of Spanish. This is my explanation. So, of course, bishop a4 is possible, but I played bishop c6, very principal reaction, d takes c6, queen e2, according to theory is the best, because rook e1 is possible, but after rook e1, black can play knight f6, and now d takes e5, queen takes d1, totally acceptable for black. After knight takes e5, bishop e7, okay, it's playable position for white, but I don't know if it's real chances for advantage. For example, c4 is possible to play castle, knight c3. It's totally playable position. But queen e2 is more aggressive because now bishop f5 is only move. After knight f6, of course, I will take this d pawn. So bishop f5 is only move. Rook e1, another move which important. Topalov against Vallejo played rook d1. Rook d1 it's less precise because after queen e7, black is fine. The idea is to prepare a long castle, or if d takes e5, black has rook d8. It's comfortable position. So rook e1 is bad. And important to know that after knight takes e5, surprisingly, black can take this pawn. And if queen f3, knight d7, queen d7, knight bd2, queen e7, and black is not losing the piece, and they are quite okay here. So I played rook e1. And now white has many threats. So queen d3, and I'm flexible to take this knight or to take this pawn. So rook e1 is strong moves. Bishop d4 played Magnus, c3, bishop d6. He provoked me to play c3. I don't know what is real reason to do it. Now, okay, surely I have many good options here. But for example, if I take pawn, he has bishop c5, bishop e3, castle, probably knight bd2, for example. Okay, it's also good, looks like a good option for white, very solid position. So knight takes d2 is not possible because after bishop c5, knight f3, queen takes f3, black is losing exchange. So after knight bd2 looks like bishop takes e3. It's the best move. And now white can just take on e3. It's slightly better position. Knight takes d2, knight takes d2. Also possible to take on e4 firstly. Play this position also looks like slightly better for white. But okay, so I decide that probably it's not too much for me and played queen c2. I want to take the piece, but queen d7. So my problem is that when I will take on e4, he will not take immediately, and it will be pin on the board, and it gives black some at least practical chances. So I took on e5. Of course, there are other possibilities. Knight h4 possible to consider, for example, like option. I don't remember exactly why I didn't play it, knight h4, but I remember that I had a very big choice of good continuations, and I thought I spent a lot of time during the opening, and finally I was in big time trouble and lost this game. So knight h4 was totally possible. We can consider it. For example, if knight g3, queen b3, it looks like logical, yes. Bishop takes b1, rook takes b1, for example. Or maybe h takes g3, it's possible. g6, yes, it's possible, but it's hardly good idea for black because I can just take and play f3 and okay, black is not losing immediately. Knight f6 is possible, and after d takes e5, bishop c5. Okay, maybe. So black is not losing here, at least immediately. But if d takes e5, bishop c. Also g4 is possible to consider, however. I don't know what is this, but at least interesting to consider. Okay, maybe black has some compensation in variation, something like this, and then long castle, who knows. Okay, so knight h4 was another interesting option. Yes, this variation is very dangerous for white after rook e1. World champion was a special motivation to play. Okay, difficult to say what is difference. Probably because of age, because Kasparov and Karpov are older than me. Magnus is much younger than me, but okay, it's difficult to describe it. So even here, I don't know. Queen e2 and then c4 is coming. Who knows? So knight h4 was at least very interesting alternative. But okay, I just took a piece. Sorry, I took on e5. So it was possible, of course, immediately to take with rook, and I think Magnus planned to play castle anyway, and now probably I have d takes e5 will be same like game. Probably I can play knight bd2 as well, but the situation still not totally clear because black has counter chances. So d takes e5, I played bishop c5, rook takes e4, castle. And now, so white has clear material advantage, but it's important to finish development. For example, if bishop f4 now, which looks logical to prepare knight bd2, black has idea takes, queen d1 check. And now after queen e1, maybe even queen c2 is possible. If knight bd2, he can take on b2. Also, maybe white is better here. I don't know. Maybe white is better. But also, it's necessary to consider this line. I'm under pin, so this king e2, and till now, unfortunately, I have no threat bishop d2 because rook takes d2 and rook takes a1. But I have threat knight c2, and then but after knight c2, rook g1, so it's not so clear. It's possible, but not so clear. Queen a4. Queen a4, yes, queen a4, good idea. I need to play bishop d2 and then b3, another not so clear position because I have problem with my knight. Now queen c2 probably. So yes, it was bishop f4 wasn't convincing move. So I played knight bd2. So my plan is to play b4, bishop b2 somehow. Queen d5. Still, I have a big material advantage, but now black has concrete threat. Bishop takes e4 and queen d1. I played king f1 to defend against this. Probably another logical possibility was h3, for example, or g3 even, or g4. I don't know which from this move is the best. Maybe even g4, very concrete move. It's brave decision, of course, but very concrete. And for example, after this, if queen d1 takes, king g2, and bishop is attacked. If bishop goes somewhere, I have several plans. So b3 and bishop b2 is possible, but also c4. Probably even more interesting with idea to prepare knight c3. So probably g4 was bishop g6 is possible, but after bishop g6 I can play b4 already, so it's a reasonable move. I think, frankly speaking, g4 is move in spirit of position, but probably I decide that it is too risky, I don't know, so I played king f1. I choose this way to defend against bishop takes e4 and queen d1, because now I have king e2 at the end, so rook h e8. And now again, b3, it's very soft move, and I'm not sure that this is better. Most natural looks like before, and I don't know why I didn't play this, because it looks so natural. So what was my fear? Now I don't remember. Okay, so bishop, if bishop somewhere, bishop a7, c4 looks like the most natural. No, probably I had illusions that after queen e6, black has some compensation, but at least not so clear, because I can even play c5, and now not only material advantage, also black bishop a7 doesn't play, so why? Okay, maybe bishop f8 or bishop e7 is possible. Maybe this is the best way for black, with idea to prepare bishop g5 somewhere. If bishop b2, bishop g5, maybe. So maybe this I was afraid. If, for example, c4 now, queen e6 and then queen g6 in some moment. You propose to play c4 immediately. Okay, I will consider it. c4 is possible, and then knight c4 and then knight b3. Yes, it's also interesting. But okay, queen e6, for example, knight b3, bishop a7, and black wants to play queen g6. And still, okay, maybe bishop f4 simply. His idea to prepare rook a1, and looks like objectively black has no enough compensation for material. Yes, bishop d2 is possible as well. Yes, but bishop f4 maybe. I wanted to protect e5 pawn more firmly, and also in some variation to have d2 square for my knight. So yes, c4 and b4 was extremely logical, but I played b3. Okay, he played g5. Now he wants to play g4, and so bishop b2, g4, knight d4, takes, c5. Anyway, looks like very promising for white, because I finished more or less my development, and now I can play rook c1, for example. I played rook e1, so why I didn't play rook c1? Looks like natural, because to prevent c takes d4. We are considering bishop d2. No, bishop d2. C4 line. Then, just a moment. So knight bd2, queen d5, king f1, rook. So we are considering knight b3, bishop a7, bishop d2. Yes, but after queen g6, why white need to play knight h4? Rook a e1, it's normal, in my opinion. And I don't see anything good for black here. All is protected. Next moves can be bishop c3, knight bd2, so white has no reason to play knight h1. Yes, rook e1, yes. But okay, I played b3, maybe also not so bad. So rook c1, why I didn't play the rook c1? Okay, probably I didn't see something concrete after c6 or rook d7. Rook e7 doesn't work, of course, because after queen takes c5, rook is hanging. So black has choice between rook... maybe also rook e6. Rook e6, queen takes c5. So black should play c6 or rook d7 here. And probably here I didn't see what to do. Because next move c takes d4. It's still not so clear. I'm thinking about this, c takes d4, and bishop takes d4, bishop takes e4, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, knight d6, check. But it's not convincing. King d8 may be possible, maybe even this is possible. After this, queen e3, I mean. Is my pawn f3 is hanging, and queen c3 not possible. Queen d3, f3 maybe, queen d3. What you mean? When f3 or queen d3? So f3 or queen d3, it was another proposition. Queen d3 may be possible as well, but But what to do after c takes d4? Black wants rook takes e5. So okay, but queen e3, f3 is queen e3, and I don't see way how to protect my pawn f3. Maybe it's possible knight f6, just play. Queen takes f3 check, and okay, at least I can play king g2, king g1, sorry, and agree to draw. And probably I don't have more than draw, but who knows? We can check this as well. Because I take queen's check, so probably it was possible. But after knight d6, also king d8. And I'm not sure that I have something good here, because knight e8, king e8 is good for black. Knight takes b7, king e7, queen f5, at least queen d3 check. So but also rook d1 now. Okay, rook d1 he can take on d1 and take on d6, and only black can play for a win. So this idea not convincing. But okay, so probably after c takes d4, I need to play something else, but not easy, because my pawn e5 is hanging, so looks like black is okay here. Rook d4, queen takes d4, bishop takes d4, we were considered already. So after rook d7, it's not easy. Knight c4, where knight c4? Here knight c4. Here knight c4 is interesting, because knight b6 is a threat, so black should play something like king b8 probably. Okay. And rook takes d4, queen takes f3, at least unpleasant practically, although maybe I can do it, who knows. So after c takes d4, yes, here knight c4, but yes, but but rook takes d4 is interesting, because after queen takes d4, queen takes f5 I have. So bishop takes c2, rook takes d5 I have. So queen takes f3, queen f2. And, okay, I'm piece up and probably always protected. Queen h3 check, king e1 for example, and I don't see any special threats. So probably okay, knight c4. Yes, so probably knight c4 was a good idea. But okay, situation is not clear. For example, black can take, for example. Knight b6 doesn't work because king d8. If I take with pawn queen e6, it's knight d6 also is coming. So I can take, and then so if queen c6, again knight d6. If c takes d6, queen will go somewhere. So it's possible. So probably it was good idea. f3 and knight c4. Yes, okay, but I didn't play it, so I played rook a e1. He just took on d4. And now knight b6. In which moment knight b6? So we were considered rook c1, rook d7, f3, takes, knight c4. Here knight b6 you mean? No. Now knight b6, king d8. White cannot win the queen. And if f takes e4, black has check from b5. So there is no reason to play knight. Much better to take immediately with idea knight d6. Because here queen b5. Okay, it's no reason for sorry, we are analyzing. So I played rook e1. Probably rook c1 was much stronger, so rook e1, c takes d4, and now, okay, not only trouble with, I'm not only in trouble with position, but also in big time trouble. So, and bishop takes d4 obviously is not possible because queen takes d4. After rook takes d4, bishop takes c2, and this endgame looks like much better for black because bishop is much stronger than knight. So probably I didn't see before queen takes d4, so probably. And this was my idea, but then I realized that I cannot do it. So I played queen c4. Yes, maybe queen d1 was the best idea to attack g4 pawn as well. It looks like black should take, and now I have choice. Even queen takes g4 not possible because this trick. But okay, I can just take with rook. Probably this position is quite good for me because after f5, for example, I can take and black cannot take on e5, and if some move, I have knight c4. So queen d1 was probably the best choice. And it looks like my position is still good. For example, if c5, I have knight c4 idea. Knight b6 is threat, and next move rook f4 is coming. So queen d1 was... so I'm still good. But I played queen c4, probably already here in move 20 I was in big time trouble, so I lost this position. So, and now he took. Now I took on g4 with rook. It's not so tempting like take. Of course, was better to take here. And my position is still good because he needs to take with this rook because otherwise I will take d4 pawn. So and now take on g4 and objectively looks even here I'm. Yes, I'm just analyzing. I'm not using engines. So even here was good position, but rook takes g4 I played, so I missed rook e8. And now, only now, situation really changed to black favor. So yes, rook takes g4 was mistake because I didn't see rook d8 idea. And now he has mate in threat. So knight f3 is only move, looks like. Because queen c1 maybe it's possible as well, but it looks extremely risky for white. It's just losing because queen e6 is double threat. My rook is hanging and rook e. So knight f3 it's only move, but now it's a bad endgame because he is taking a2 pawn, and Now I have problem with king, and also a pawn goes quite quickly. So this, I don't know if there is, maybe still there is possibility to fight instead of rook g7, rook takes f7. Maybe I have possibility to fight in this position. For example, to play g3, important to have king g2. If a5, something like rook g5. My idea, if a4, rook a5, so it's game is not over, but I was in big time trouble and spoiled it. So rook g7 I played, rook f7. I had primitive idea if a3 to play bishop a5 and then rook takes c7, but Magnus played rook c2. And now rook c1 is threat. My attack against c7 is stopped. So I played g4, a4, and now it's very unpleasant for me because his pawn is he is pushing quite quickly. So g5, h8, rook h8 I played. Okay, it looks already bad for me because he will attack my bishop. Rook takes c4 next move. So I played rook h8, c5, somewhere rook d4 is, now rook d4 is important threat, so I have no time for g6 because rook d4 wins. Okay, if exchange rook or not, it's very, it depends too much from concrete position. So I remember, for example, if you have a queen against three pieces, usually better to have rooks on the. I mean, I want to explain it in concrete. For example, this variation: c5, knight f3, d6. Sorry, e6, d4. Takes, knight c6, this variation. It's good example. Sorry, knight b5, queen b8, bishop e3, a6, bishop b6, takes, bishop b4, c3, bishop a5, knight c7. Although knight d6 is also interesting move. You can see game Tetzlaff against Volokitin. And now again black can take and take on b6. But Volokitin played king f8, bishop c5 was played, b6, bishop e3, and white has very strong compensation for a piece, although black won this is the game, but not because of opening. So, but I mean mainly this line. So, for example, in my opinion, black is slightly better in this position, but black is slightly better because all rooks are in the board. So if imagine that there are no rooks on the board, white is much better. If imagine that one pair of rook is changed, also is in favor of white. So if you have queen, usually against many pieces, so usually it's good to have. If you have queen, it's good to exchange rooks. If you have minor pieces against queen, usually it's better to keep rooks on the board. But of course, there are a lot of exception from this rule, and it depends from concrete position. Okay, let's continue to my game against Magnus. But another example I want to show you, opening my game against Vladimir Kramnik. So it was something like this. Anti-Grünfeld, I need to remember. d5, so he played queen a4 check, bishop d7, queen b3, takes, and I played this. He played d4, Bishop g7, e4, castle, e5. I was black, Kramnik was white. So this, this, and very complicated position. And after some mistakes, white, after some my mistakes, white position was clearly better. So even here, if imagine that there are no rook in the board, black is almost winning. But because all rooks are in the board, I think position is more or less equal. So this is okay. So let's come back to my game. So we will see how Magnus finished it successfully. This is my game against Vidit. So how it was? So g6 I cannot play, so I played knight e1. My idea, if rook d4 I can take and play knight c2, but rook c1. g6, king d7. Unfortunately, my bishop on h8 is extremely bad, and it not allow me to play g7. So I played bishop. So situation looks like hopeless for me, because black wants just play c4, c3. So bishop b2 and king e6. Nice trick. So bishop a1 was possible, but okay, bishop a1, black can just take on a1. And after g7, rook takes e1. But of course, king e6 is only also winning. So I played bishop b2, king e6, knight move, h4, c4, h5, c3. So I'm hopeless. Takes, knight d3, and I just resigned it here. What? Of course, black is totally winning. Any move is winning. King f6, for example, probably the simplest. Okay, probably I just probably, or I lost on time is also possible. So even more likely, because if I didn't lost on time, was more logic. Yes, queen b1, king e2. Okay, king f6 probably the simplest. Okay, b5. Who can dethrone king e2 and after king d7? Can you tie it with king e2 and sorry? What you mean king e2? Here king e2. Yes, but c4 anyway is possible. c4, and I have no defense against c3. So here I have no chances anymore. Yes, so most likely I just lost on time, because if I didn't lost on time, was more logical for me to wait his move and resign only after that. So okay, as you can see, I had very promising position, but I wasn't practical with my time, and I was punished. So I hope you enjoyed with my lection Valmiera. Uh, Fischer random I never played. No, against Magnus I mean. I didn't play Fischer Random a lot either, but against Magnus I have never played. I played against Magnus all kind of chess. I played classic control, I played blitz, I played rapid, I played blindfold as well. So what else I can do? Probably drafts I can play as well if he wants. Okay, so I hope you enjoy it and I hope it was useful for you, my explanation for my listeners today. And I will prepare. I didn't play yet, but okay, I can do it, I think. If he wants, why not? Valmiera. What is Valmiera? Is it? It's Latvia. Okay. Now I have a very nice memory about Jurmala. Very nice resort. In candidates tournament, in my opinion, the best chances have Caruana and Firouzja. They are my main favorites in candidates tournaments. Yes, in YouTube, all of my streams from Twitch I am publishing in YouTube. Okay, for today it's enough. Thanks for your attention, and I hope to see you next time. I will prepare. Yes, Dink, it's a good player. Also, if he will qualify, I think he has good chance to fight for first place. Okay, goodbye.